Hello and welcome to a new session, Rhapsody in 5 minutes, where we give you a jump start into the Rhapsody features. Today we talk about the Rhapsody hosted Simulink integration. Beside the Rhapsody hosted integration, where we generate executable code from a Rhapsody model with parts implemented in Simulink, there are further integration points with the Mathworks product Simulink. Here you see a quick overview. If you're also interested in the other points, I invite you to watch the video Rhapsody and Simulink integration from Andy Lapping, which is really great. In the so-called Rhapsody hosted integration, we can import Simulink models into Rhapsody and connect these with our Rhapsody UML or SysML model. For this, there is a notation of a Simulink block in the Rhapsody Simulink profile. A Simulink block represents an imported Simulink model. If we also use the code of the Simulink model, then we can build and execute the whole model in Rhapsody. To do this, the Simulink embedded coder is required. If you do not have the embedded coder, you could also use the full planned execution, which is explained in Andy's video as well. To use Rhapsody with Simulink, we have to add the Simulink profile that provides additional settings and features. The Simulink profile is located in the Profiles folder, and this one is applicable for UML and SysML. After adding it to the model, it will be visible in the browser. Let's add a class here and call this class Magic, which will later on represent and contain our Simulink model. To associate a Simulink model with this class, we first have to apply the Simulink block stereotype, which is provided with the Simulink profile. Rhapsody is going to ask me if I want to add some default behavior. I say no, because I want to use a pure Simulink behavior. By setting this stereotype, I get access to the Simulink importer for this class, with a couple of settings to perform. In the first step, I point to the folder where the Matlab executable is located. And then we can provide the model and the source code. But let's take a look on the model first. So I have here a very high sophisticated algorithm, just as an example. I take an input value, multiply it by 5, then send the result to the output pin. To generate code for Rhapsody, we have to set up the Simulink code generator accordingly, also to avoid some compiler and linker issues that might occur. Here you see the summary. Let's go rapidly through this. You will find these settings under Code, C++, Coder, Code Generation Options. So first we select the embedded coder. We generate only the code, no build or anything else. Select the environment, and you have to make sure that you have the fix step. The variable step is not supported. For the symbols, make sure that you have set the generated identifier to classic. And for the code interface packaging, use non-reusable functions, otherwise you will have some undefines. We're now ready to generate the code, and after the code generation is done, we get this nice report. And we have everything that we need for our Rhapsody model. We select the Simulink model, and we are going to select the code. Only take the C++ code without main, headers or anything else. The importer is going to do his work. Give it a moment. And we see that he is going to update this class with input and output flow ports corresponding to our input and output pins in our Simulink model. Let's fill the model and add some UML classes. So I'm going to add a class, and I call this class source because it will provide some data to the Magic class. To do so, it also needs a port, a flow port, and to make life easy, I just copy the port from the Magic class to the source class. Because the port of the Magic class was an input, I change it to output. I provide the type integer, and I rename the port to P1. What we also need is an attribute with the same name and type of the port. So I'm going to add an attribute, and I call this attribute P1. Whenever the value changes, this value is propagated through the port P1. Last but not least, I will add a third class, and also to make life easy, I just copy the source class and I will rename this class to be the sync class, and I drag and drop it into the model, and I change the direction of the port because it was an output port to be an input port. Now we have everything. Let's align it a bit, beautify our model, maybe make the classes the same size. Last one selected is a reference size, so same size, same space between them, and maybe align them, and now it looks pretty good. In the next step, I have to create some runtime objects. There are several ways to do this. I'm using the builder. If you want to learn more about instantiation and how to set up relations between objects, you're invited to watch my YouTube video, How to Create Objects and Init Relations. I'm going to move these classes into the builder and I make them an object. So now they are part of the builder. And the builder will instantiate the source, magic and sync objects, and so that the relationship is initialized, we also draw a link between them. So now the builder will create the objects for me and it will initialize the relationship between them. To get an initial instance of the builder, we go to the component configuration and we say to Rhapsody that we would like to have an initial instance of the builder. And we also select animation because we would like to use a panel diagram in order to modify the attributes of the source. So let's add a new diagram, and it will be a panel diagram. And for the source P1, maybe I use a slider, and for the sync I use LCD as a display. I have to bind the attribute P1 to the slider, so let's select it, OK, and we also go to bind the attribute of the sync to the LC display P1. OK, we're ready. Let's compile it and let's run it, and oops, not initialized, doesn't matter here. Let's move the slider, but we see it looks like it's working. Great. 1050. So the Simulink block is doing its magic. Are you interested in a specific topic? Don't hesitate to send me an email to rhapsody@evotion.com, or if you want to receive our newsletter, just send an email newsletter to info@evotion.com. We periodically run these following training courses, so if you want to join a training course or if you are interested in an on-site training, don't hesitate to contact us. Thanks a lot and goodbye.